Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 175 of the Run in the Paint podcast. I'm Miles here with Ben and Joey. Guys, how are you doing today?
Feeling good, feeling great. Happy to be back with you guys after missing the last one on my way back from Columbus, but I am here and I'm ready to talk some basketball.
Yes, sir. Ben and I are now back in our colleges. Ben at Ohio University, myself at Ashland University, back for the grind of semester 2 and for the second half of the NBA season coming up here in a little bit. Ben, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Feeling good as always, and always happy to be talking to the viewers and fans that support us.
Yes, sir. So excited to get into it this podcast. Let's start off with Pirtle, the three-man weave. No Coach Cove today, unfortunately. He's doing some business scouting a little bit as well. So we're going to try to hold down the fort for him on this one. First player that we're going to guess today, we're going to go with a bit of a journeyman over the last few years. We're going to go with Javonte Green, who's made his way to the Motor City this season. All right, so this is going to be a 6'6" or 6'7" guard in the Western Conference that's younger than 30 years old and wears a jersey number that is lower than 29. So this could still be a lot of players.
So it's a bigger guard, obviously. What bigger guards do we have over in the Western Conference?
That's 6. Yeah, that's only a guard.
It's only a guard. Like, it has to be a guard. Immediately,
6
like, how tall is Shea? I know he's pretty tall.
Yeah, he might be 6'6", 6'7". Ben, what do you think? I mean, Shea.
Yeah, I think Shea is an after potential. I think he's like 6'6", somewhere around there.
Yeah, I was thinking Shea. I was thinking, how tall is Dylan Harper, too, the rookie?
Ooh, he's pretty tall as well.
Pretty similar. I mean, similar players besides obviously their age, as far as looking, trying to guess a player. We could go with one of those guys to try to get a division down to get in the opposite conference. Who do we want to guess? The MVP or the rookie?
I say Shea.
Let's go Shea. Yeah.
All right, let's go with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA. Oh man! All right, that's very close. Number 1 or number 0 in the Northwest Division. That is still younger. So Northwest. So this is going to be Denver, Minnesota, Utah, or Portland. Let's see. Denver.
Christian Brown?
Yeah, Christian Brown is number 0. I'm not sure because did he? How old is Christian Brown at this point? Because now he's in his 4th year, and didn't he spend a few years at college or?
Yeah, he's probably closer to like 25 or something, and that would be yellow.
That might not be bad though, Ben. We'll go back to that one if we need to, because there's him, there's Dante DiVincenzo on Minnesota, who's probably in a similar age range as.
I think DiVincenzo might be a bit too old.
Yeah. Then Utah, don't think has anyone that fits this. Portland has Dame. He's older.
They don't have a number 1, do
They
they?
might, but I'm not sure. I think we could try. You want to go with who's the first guy? Was it Christian Brown?
Yeah.
I give him.
Let's try it out. Christian Brown. Yes.
Yeah.
Ben knew it. Ben was right on it. Not as crazy as the Dominic Barlow poll in 2, but Christian Brown, that's pretty good. Christian Brown at 3.
Dominic Barlow in 2 is nuts.
Yeah, let us know how long it took you guys to get Christian Brown and Pirtle. Let's get into some NBA news here today. First thing we're going to start off with is take a look at some marquee games coming up this week. Now that we are heading into the second half of the season, we're past Christmas. We're now finally going to get to, have some really big, important games that matter for seeding, for point in the standings, for mental sanity to prove that these teams are really legit going down the stretch here. And one team this week that is certainly going to be on the eyes of many is the defending NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder, who, of course, are 33-7. They've had a terrific, season. They got off to that historic start, champions last year. up and down over the last few weeks there with, hot and cold play from, across the board on their team. But this week they've got a couple of big games. We'll start off with the big one that's taking place tonight as this is releasing, when the Thunder host the San Antonio Spurs. They play them for the fourth time this season. The game is 8 o'clock on Peacock tonight from Oklahoma City, with the Spurs and the Thunder, the two top teams in the Western Conference. And Ben, again, Spurs have beaten the Thunder 3 times already this season. So Ben, heading into this game, what are you going to be paying attention to?
I am going to be looking to see if the Thunder can play fast and really get out well in transition against the Spurs. I think, based on what I've seen, that's what they should be looking at doing. But maybe that could get them over the hump. Obviously, we know when the Thunder, as we've seen before, can get steals and stuff and then really get out running in transition, that can lead to a lot of success. And they could possibly force a good amount of turnovers on the Spurs. Spurs haven't been playing as well recently. I know they've beaten the Thunder 3 times, but they really need to step it up still against the Thunder to try and win. And they just gotta play faster, match the intensity of the Spurs. They gotta really want it.
It's the thing that's interesting going into this matchup, Joey, is, of course, Thunder have been up and down over the last few weeks. But the Spurs, as Ben said, after the Christmas game where they, really dominated the Thunder on the road, San Antonio has gone 4-5 in their last 9 games, with a lot of close games sprinkled in there, coming off of a loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves by 1 point on Sunday. So what are you looking for in this sort of matchup?
Honestly, just to see, I'm really more focused on the Thunder right now, because facing a lot of this adversity, this would be a really good time to show the NBA and all the fans and all that you can play even through all this adversity, and that even though the Spurs may be their weakness, they can show up. But I like what Ben said. They need to play fast, get in transition, win the turnover battle. They're such a good defensive team. This is the time to show it. But they really do have to match the energy, just because with how young a team the Spurs are, so is the Thunder. They're a very young team. They should be able to handle that. But it'll be very interesting. And on the Spurs end, I know Wemby's been dealing with some injury issues. He's been in and out of the starting lineup and stuff. I actually saw a ridiculous thing saying, should the Spurs actually start Wemby off the bench going forward because they're winning more? It's no, that's just crazy. He's one of the best. That's just stupid. But you're going to have to rely on him, and I'm looking at either Stephon Castle or De'Aaron Fox as well. Really need to kind of bring it, just because they got so many good defenders. One of them's got to slip through the cracks. Maybe even Dylan Harper or Devin Vassell or something like that. Someone's got to just bring their A game, because they don't have all those defenders for nothing.
Yeah, those guards have done a terrific job attacking the Thunder paint in the matchups this season. That's been one of the things that has stood out in the 3 games so far, especially that Christmas game in Oklahoma City. But yeah, the Wembanyama off the bench thing, of course, he's been in and out of the starting lineup since coming back from his, varying injuries. And it's just, again, we keep using the word interesting, but that's just kind of how it is. It's a unique situation where I don't know if we've ever seen this before for this extended of a stretch where, a budding superstar is injured for, a stretch. He was out for a month with this injury, comes back, and in order to prolong his minutes and, have him on the floor at the end of the game when it matters most, comes off the bench and doesn't start the game. And then we've seen some other guys do this, some other teams do this with some players, like the Cavs did it with Evan Mobley when he came back from his, injuries. We've seen it in a couple other situations as well. Ben, what do you think about that strategy, coming back from injury, having your star player come off the bench for multiple games to kind of fit your minute limit, the whatever minute restriction that you have, and then still have the chance to win with that guy on the floor?
I did all right with that. I think it's been the right thing, to kind of ease him back in. And I think, at least with what I've seen with the Spurs, that Mitch Johnson has done a good job of trying to make sure that he's out there for the key moments that really matter, which that's, of course, important still. You got Wemby, it could be great, but yeah, it's not like Wemby's played like the best he's ever played there recently, but I mean, it was kind of tough coming back from that injury thing, and I do really like what the Spurs that they're just still trying to look to play great team basketball and do what they can to win.
Yeah, for sure. So that will certainly be a game to watch tomorrow. Again, they play one more time later this season in February, or they play 5 times because of the way that the NBA Cup worked out, and those two teams played in Vegas. Joey, who do you think is going to come out in this one?
I'll be honest. I'm kind of believing in the Thunder right now. They're more of a team that can, like I said, they've gone through a little bit of adversity, mostly by this team, but they're a team they've been to the championship. They're a bunch of young guys, but they have that experience now. They know what it takes to win everything and just to come through when you need it. And this is where everyone's going to have eyes on, because if the Spurs sweep them and just go 4-0 on them, everyone's going to just scout those games and watch the film on it and just absolutely try to find out what the weakness is, or maybe it's just the name, the Spurs. But I'm looking for the Thunder to not let that narrative come true, and I'm really looking for them to bring the energy that Ben is talking that they are going to desperately need.
Absolutely. Ben, what do you think? Who do you think is going to win this game?
Yeah, it's a tough one, but right now I'm leading the Thunder. I'm going with them. I think they're gonna come with more energy. I think they'll seem like they listened to what I just had to say and constant turnovers. And I think they'll be really hungry. I think they'll be the even more hungrier team in this one, because they really know what's at stake, and I think, really want to get back to proving that, oh yeah, they could be dominant, looking like the defending champs.
Yeah, this week is going to be super huge for the Oklahoma City Thunder because, again, over the last even week, I mean, this time last week we were talking about how they had just went on a 3-game stretch where they had lost to the Suns on a big-time game winner by Devin Booker. Dylan Brooks went crazy. Then the next night got blown out at home by the Hornets, of all teams, and then won in overtime against the Utah Jazz. Then over the weekend, they have to complete a double-digit comeback in Memphis to defeat the Grizzlies, who have been inconsistent this season. And in their last game, they picked up a 12-point victory against the Heat, who have been, on a little bit of a down roll tumble themselves. But this week is going to be super important for them. We'll get into their game after this Spurs game on Thursday. But they begin a 4-game road trip in Houston on Thursday against the Rockets. Then they play the Heat again. Then the Cavs on Monday. Then at Milwaukee before returning home for 3 games as well. So this is going to be a big-time stretch here against teams that are good, teams that are all these teams besides maybe the Bucks should be in the postseason by the end of the year. And a chance for the Thunder to try to make a statement and win these games. I think that they will win the game against the Spurs, this 4th matchup. They got to get on the board in one of these games, and you think the best chance for them to do it is at home in front of their fans. And I think they will pull it out, though.
I would have thought the same thing on Christmas, though, to be honest. So
That's exactly right. Yeah, we talked about it on Christmas. That's we totally expected them to come in and dominate that game too, and look what happened. Spurs are coming in with again, they've struggled below 500 in their last 9 games as well. So both these teams trying to regain the footing that they sort of began this season with. And the Thunder will look to continue that on Thursday when they visit the Rockets in what's a big test for both teams. That game is 7:30 on Prime in Houston. I guess let's talk about the Houston Rockets because they're also a team that's kind of been struggling a little bit over the last few weeks. We mentioned them on the last podcast, but this is a team that started off really, really strong. On the season right now they're 22-14, which anything 8 games over 500, that's pretty good. But in this Western Conference, they're now in the play-in. They are 7th place in the Western Conference, and they've lost their last 3 games, back-to-back close losses to the Blazers, and then a 13-point loss to Joey's Sacramento Kings.
That can't happen. I'm sorry, Houston Rockets. I'm sorry, Jackson, our good friend Jackson Gatlin or Goglin, whatever you want. But that can't happen. I'm sorry, but I love the Sacramento Kings. I just found out one of my good friends might actually go to a Kings game, and I'm going to give him money to hopefully get me a Light the Beam shirt. But man, if you want to be taken seriously, you can't lose to some of these teams. It's just, however, congratulations to Kevin Durant on passing Wilt Chamberlain on the all-time scoring list. That's a huge accomplishment. However,
KD
get the rest of your team in order.
Yeah. KD now 7th on the all-time scoring list. He's now 125 points away from Dirk Nowitzki. Should be able to pass him in the next few weeks or so. And then the big one, he is 857 points shy from Michael Jordan. So that's of course the big one.
That's for 5th?
I believe yes, for 5th.
Top 5. Wow.
Yes, 857 points with around 40 games to go. I'll do some quick math here. He'd have to average around 21 points for the rest of the season, which he should be able to do. But of course, that's if he would play every game. We know he's a guy that sometimes isn't the most durable, of course, getting up there in age. So we'll see if he's able to rise on that list even by the end of this season. But either way, just an incredible accomplishment for Kevin Durant. Ben, I think for a lot of people, this guy is the best scorer that they've seen with their own 2 eyes. I mean, I guess essentially a 7-foot guard that can, is an elite shooter at all 3 levels.
Yeah, he's been one of the best scoring players in my eyes. What I've been able to watch in my life, he's amazing. He's had a phenomenal career, and it's crazy. He's getting older too, not as old as LeBron, but still getting old, and it's still great to see him playing great ball. Still is impressive, and he'll definitely, keep getting, good amount of praise, just based on his career here before he ends up retiring one day and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely one of the all-time greats. But in this major game between the Rockets and the Thunder, I believe this will be the first time they're meeting this season. So the first time that KD gets to play against the team where he scored a lot of those buckets that got him up to this high on the scoring list. And I want to pose a question to you guys. Of course, the Thunder are playing this game against the Spurs on Tuesday, but both of these teams are trying to get right at this point of the season. So this game on Thursday between the Thunder and the Rockets, who is it more important to, the Thunder or the Rockets? Joey, starting with you, who do you think it matters more to?
I think it's more important for the Rockets. I think the more important game for the Thunder is the Spurs game. You win that, I think it's a more important game for the Rockets. If you lose against the Spurs and you lose to Houston, that actually might be really, really bad. So it really does depend on if the Thunder beat the Spurs or not, because the Spurs is their number one game. But this game against the Rockets, like you said, they've slipped this far down in the standings. You've been struggling against some teams that one team should be in the play-in and the other team should be in high lottery contention. But if you can beat the Thunder and prove that you can still we know they can compete with the top of the West and like the top of the league, but like you need just because we know that you have to go out there and prove it. And this is a great step, and especially if you're going through adversity, beat up on the top team in the league. That's a good reset button.
Yeah, Ben, hard to disagree. I mean, both these games are certainly important, but the Rockets, on this 3-game losing streak, certainly are going to want some momentum going forward. Before they play the Thunder on Thursday, they play the Bulls at home to open up a 5-game homestand. So a chance for the Rockets to get back on track here.
Yeah, it's going to be really important for them to get back on track, and that Thunder game will be really important for them to see if they can somehow get over the hump and beat the Thunder. But they're just going to have to play better offensively. They're doing all right defensively, I think. They just got to find ways to move the ball better and just generate more offense if they do want to get more wins.
Yeah, no question about it. So we'll see what ends up happening with the Rockets. Again, it is super important for them the rest of the season to try to get good positioning in the playoffs. Because, I mean, that's the crazy thing. I mean, it feels like they've had a really good season. I mean, we graded them pretty well during our, grades right near Christmas heading into the new year. But again, they're 7th seed right now just because of these last 3 weeks. It shows that any of these teams in the Western Conference, if you have one bad week, I mean, it could really, potentially derail your season because you do not want to end up in the play-in. That is the number one thing.
Where are the Clippers at now? Because they've been playing much better ball as of recently.
Yeah, so, we'll talk about the standings here. We haven't talked about them fully in a little bit. So the Clippers are 1.5 games back of Memphis, who's the 10th seed right now. LA is 15-23 tonight. They play the Charlotte Hornets. That game is about to tip off as we are recording here at 10:30 Eastern. And actually, I just saw this popped up on my screen. James Harden is 15 points away from passing Wilt on the scoring list to be 9th all-time in scoring. So Wilt is about to be passed up by a couple of Thunder and Rockets, Nets all-stars. But the chance for the Clippers to get even closer. So they are definitely, creeping on the door. That's for sure.
The whole Western Conference, it's too tight, man. Like, that's what you said. Like, people talk about how the regular season doesn't really matter. That might have been true, 10 years ago when it was just waiting for everyone to see the Warriors versus the Cavs in the finals every single year for a good 4 years. But that's not the case no more. You have, like you said, you have one bad week. You can go from 3rd to play-in. And then if you don't get out of that mess, you're out of the play-in. You literally are just shit out of luck. Pardon my French.
Yeah, dude. The crazy thing is they are now a half game behind the Suns. The Phoenix Suns have a better record right now than the Houston Rockets, 24-15.
Wow.
Hey, I'm not calling them the Buns this season. They are doing it, man. They have played fantastic. They now have a big, test coming up. They're on a 3-game winning streak, beating Memphis, New York, and Washington. Now on a 6-game Eastern Conference road trip. My goodness, this schedule is crazy as I'm looking at it. So they're on a 6-game road trip in the Eastern Conference. Then 5-game homestand, 1 road game. 4-game homestand, 1 road game. 4-game homestand, 1 road game, 3-game homestand. So they are living at home essentially for the next month and a half. They have 3 road games. Are you serious? From January 25th to the end of February, they play on the road 3 times. Are you kidding?
They have the All-Star break. Like, they are going to be fully rested and probably playing their best basketball because you don't have to go nowhere.
They should be. They definitely should be. And the Suns have picked up some impressive wins. They've had an incredible season. One of the
New York beating New York is an impressive win.
I'd say. I mean, if they, it's probably between them, the Pistons, and the Celtics for the biggest pleasant surprise of the season, because it has been remarkable what that team has been able to do. They're only a half game back of the Lakers for fifth. I mean, if this Suns team is somehow able to win a playoff series, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do. That will be one of the biggest surprises and one of the weirdest things ever. A year after they have Durant, Booker, and Beal, they have the big three, and it's awful. They don't even make the play, and they're the runner-up to our GFF award, Garbage Fire Franchise, to the Mavericks for trading Luka. And then the next year, without those guys, without Durant and Beal, they could make the playoffs. It's unbelievable.
I love it. Jordan, you are a mastermind.
Yeah, it's been absolutely incredible. But yeah, it's certainly important for the Rockets. I guess we could talk about this kind of play-in picture for the West real quick as well, because right now it is the Rockets and Suns and Lakers 5 through 7, all separated by one game. Then 3 games back of the Rockets, it's the Warriors who have been in this spot really the whole season, 21-19, 8th in the West. Then 2 games behind them, the Portland Trail Blazers, who have picked up their play recently and looking to make a jump this season with that young team, 19-21. And I believe the Blazers play the Warriors pretty soon here in the next few days. It may even be tonight. And then you have that Grizzlies, Clippers. I think those will really be the only 2 teams fighting for that spot, because Utah, even though they picked up a big win in Cleveland tonight, we'll get to that probably a little bit later. But they are in a position where they are going to pull out a very heavy tank with their first-round pick being top 8 protected to the Thunder. So bad that they made sure to lose the season series to the Charlotte Hornets by losing by 55 to them over the weekend. So they're on a massive tank job. The Dallas Mavericks will be on a tank job soon here so that they can, with their only first-round pick for the rest of the decade. We haven't really talked about a whole lot on this podcast, but the Anthony Davis injury and the way that their season has gone now, I'd probably expect both him and Kyrie. I don't know if either of them will play the rest of the season. I don't know if it would make sense to. So those guys will probably be out. The Mavericks will try to tank. Kings have been awful. And then the Pelicans, I mean, they don't have their first round pick, but they got the worst record. So what are you going to do? So, yeah, so it's definitely a fun watch in the Western Conference to see who's going to end up making it. But it would appear that the bottom of the play-in, the fight is going to be between the Trailblazers, the Grizzlies, and the Clippers.
I know we're all rooting for the Blazers. Am I right? We're all rooting for the Blazers.
I am for sure. I don't want
to see those near grandpa Clippers make the play-in and have to play more games. I want them to see.
It would definitely be the most valuable for Portland if they made it.
Agreed.
Because now that I think about it, they haven't made it. Doesn't really get talked about, but they haven't made the playoffs or the postseason since like 2021. So it's been a long time really since they've been relevant. It's been nice having them a little more relevant in the league this season with Denny Avdia playing so amazingly well for Portland.
Watching him play, he's been just balling.
Yeah, Trailblazers are definitely a fun team. They're a Running the Paint podcast team. We've been talking about them for a while here. Let's see. We'll stay in the Western Conference with our next, and I guess our final headline here and we'll go to Joey's Sacramento Kings once again, where Dennis Schroeder got suspended by the league for 3 games for attempting to strike Luka Doncic after the Kings played the Lakers back on December 28th. After the game, Dennis Schroeder, from his knowledge of being a former Laker, found path in near the locker room of the Crypto.com arena to go to the Laker locker room or outside of it to confront Luka Doncic, and he's going to be suspended for 3 games. I mean, Joey, what do you have anything to say on this? I mean, this is crazy.
I may be showing my age here a little bit, but this is very much giving me old Inside the NBA on TNT when the Clippers and Chris Paul tried to sneak in to the locker room of the old, or he was on the Suns or something like. Was it him on the Suns?
Where's the Rockets?
Oh, it was him on the Rockets, and they tried to sneak into the old Clippers, and they had the police presence there. Like, this is very much giving that type of vibes.
Yeah, it was Chris Paul, Trevor Ariza, like PJ Tucker, all those guys that like wanted to fight Patrick Beverly, Blake Griffin, those guys. I mean, it was crazy.
Chris Paul had like the inside of the Staples Center. It's always that the Staples Center, Crypto.com. Doesn't matter if they change the name. Same issue's gonna happen. Security don't give a crap.
Yeah, it was really crazy. Ben, you have any thoughts on this wild story that Schroeder went to the back and tried to, give Luka a blow?
Yeah, I think something must have, steamed up on the court with Dennis Schroeder getting mad at him, and yeah, that was a crazy decision by Schroeder to go after Luka. I mean, get that he's frustrated, but it obviously was a silly thing to try to do and not the right thing to try to do. And, well, the 3-game suspension is just what he has to deal with for deciding to do something crazy like that. So, yeah, just is what it is.
Yeah, it's definitely something else. Crazy stat that I saw over the last few weeks was, of course, the Sacramento Kings have been awful. We all thought they'd probably be a little bit better, but in the play-in mix, that was kind of their ceiling. But they're 9-30 on the season. They play the Lakers actually tonight as we're recording at home. Schroeder obviously not playing in that rematch with Luka. But the crazy thing is, so the Kings have been the GFF, garbage fire franchise of the Western Conference for nearly the entire existence of time, it feels like. It's been a very rough time for that team. But this record, this 9-30 start, is the worst start for the Kings since they've moved to Sacramento. Can you guys believe that? Like, this seems like, if you put on paper, this is one of their better rosters because of the names that are on the team. But this is the worst start since they've been in Sacramento.
That's awful, because there have been some really, really, really bad Sacramento Kings teams in the past when Vlade Divac was running the entire show. Oh, this is horrendous. I hate it so much. I love my Sacramento Kings. But I know you said we expect them a little bit better, but like you said, it was their ceiling to be in the play-in mix. Like, we did knew this was like a possibility and a very real one, that they were going to be really, really bad. Because defense was just is not existent, even just looking at this roster on paper.
Yeah, no question about it. So, yeah, it's just unbelievable. I don't know. Yeah, it's just been a crazy year in Sacramento. Now, let's move on to the Runnin the Paint podcast trade deadline scale. Let's talk about some trades, some potential guys that could be on the move. The trade deadline, crazy as it is to say, is 23 to 24 days away on Thursday, February 5th. Feels like it's earlier this year. I'm not totally sure if it is, but it's definitely coming up soon, and there are definitely a lot of guys that could be on the market. Not sure if it's going to be as crazy as last year with big names. It definitely won't be with Luka and AD and Jimmy Butler, De'Aaron Fox all getting traded. This year, we already had a big name getting traded with Trae Young dealt to the Washington Wizards that we talked about on the last episode. But, Joey, you weren't on the podcast to talk about your reactions to the trade. So now that you're here, what were your thoughts on this trade with Trae Young to the Wizards for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert?
Very much kind of a surprising trade. Very surprising that Trae Young said that he wanted to be a Wizard. And then over the next day, we saw Kispert and McCollum out of the lineup. And it's just like, oh, this is going down faster than we thought. And then it just happened. And then we're like, oh, where's the picks? And then Atlanta didn't have to give up any picks. Or like, I'm just absolutely shocked by that. So good on Atlanta for getting rid of Trae Young. You looked better without him anyways, and you get some guys that can. CJ McCollum's still a pretty good guard. He's a still kind of ball dominant guard like a Trae Young, probably a little more efficient and at least a bigger body. And Kispert is, well, just another good rotation. But Washington, how do you not get a pick out of that?
Yeah, I think we talked about it at the time on the podcast, and I guess my stance on the whole no pick thing is
a lot of people have been saying that like Atlanta should have got a pick for Trae Young, and I'm like, y'all clearly just hear the name Trae Young and think he's still that superstar from years ago. He is not that same guy.
Yeah, it's the thing. He was making him so much worse. I don't know if a pick should have been included in the trade. I think most of it, I mean, we graded it as kind of like a BB win-win trade kind of for both teams because, I mean, it does work for both teams. Both of McCollum and Kispert played for the Hawks on Sunday night against the Warriors. Both of them looked okay. Hawks got a great win on the road, blew out the Warriors. But, you know, what's interesting is, you know, Ben, we talked about, like, what are the Hawks going to do with their lineup? Because they bring in, you know, of course, they've been playing great with Nickeil Alexander-Walker in the starting lineup as the point guard with all those other guys. Bring in C.J. McCollum, a guy who has been a starter for really his entire career. Is he going to start or is he going to come off the bench? But in the Warrior game, came off the bench for the first time since the 2015 playoffs. So he is coming off the bench. He's going to be in that six-man role. And, Ben, got to imagine you like this move for McCollum coming off the bench.
Yeah, I really like it since they were able to make that work. I mentioned if they could make that work, might as well do that. So good for Atlanta there. And Atlanta's now got a deeper team. I definitely like their roster construction for now, at least.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, especially, that's a huge win against the Warriors. And I agree. I like that McCollum coming off the bench because it's, I don't know. I've been way too much on like social media and a bunch of just people just spouting their terrible opinions everywhere. But everyone talking like, how do you get rid of Trae Young and get no picks back? It's like Atlanta probably got the better end of this deal no matter what. Like, if anything, this team is going to be much, much better and more competitive than they might not be in the play-in this year, guys. They might do better.
They could. I mean, now they've won 3 games in a row. They're 20-21, which is 9th in the Eastern Conference, and of course, still a whole lot of time to go with this new team. Got a whole nother half of the season remaining here. But now let's get into, of course, the trade deadline scale. I got a few players that their names have kind of been on the market really the entire season, maybe some of them since the offseason. And I want you guys to, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being it's for sure happening, 1,000%, 1 probably not. You know, let me know what you guys think the likelihood is of them getting traded and being on a new team past the February 5th trade deadline. So the first guy we'll talk about is Ja Morant for the Memphis Grizzlies, a guy that was reportedly by Shams, you know, a guy that the Memphis Grizzlies are now open to trading away ahead of the deadline. The Grizzlies on the season, again, they're at the end of the West play-in picture. They're 17-22 as we're recording 10th in the Western Conference. And Ja Morant has just not had a good season. When he's been on the court, he's missed a lot of games. He's only played 18 games this season. In the games, he's averaging 19 points and 7 assists, shooting just 40% from the field, 21% from 3 in the 18 games. And he's, you know, his durability has been a big question over the last few seasons. So, Joey, what do you think the likelihood of Ja Morant being traded before the trade deadline this season?
I would say probably like a 7 or an 8. 7.5, I'll say. I truly think it is on the likelier side. I don't know. Again, I didn't think Trae Young would have said he wanted to go to Washington and that he got traded like that. I wouldn't have expected that to happen. I would have expected him to try to get traded, but I didn't know he was going to like actually have a market or that somebody would willing to want to. It's kind of the same way I feel about Ja Morant. Still can be a really good point guard, still got a lot of talent, but he's that big name, big ego, and not playing well. It's not a good recipe right now. I don't know how much of a market there is, but the fact that the Grizzlies and all this noise is already coming out, I do kind of expect it to happen within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, Ben, we talked about it earlier in the season when Ja Morant was having some sort of friction in the locker room with that coaching staff. Where would it make sense for him to go? Because again, he kind of fits in for this season, that Trae Young, LaMelo Ball type of realm where big name point guard who's not having a good year, he's not impacting winning success or anything like that. So where do you think makes sense for him to end up, man?
Yeah, so I've looked around the NBA at all the trade possibilities for this, just out of curiosity already, and yeah, I got a few teams to keep an eye out for. I think there's a good chance if he gets traded, it's either to the Minnesota Timberwolves or the Milwaukee Bucks right now. I mean, those are what is making the most sense to me on where it could be traded to. If he went to the Bucks, like it could be lucky, just to bring him in. It would be like, hey, try him out around Giannis. Maybe that can make Giannis more happier there. Could be something. So I'm thinking, and thinking he could get along all right with the people on the Bucks. And then the Timberwolves, obviously, they don't have great point guard depth, and Morant could fit all right next to Edwards, and I'm thinking maybe they'll take a chance on that, but they have to be careful about the depth they give up for Morant, but it might not have to be too much. I've also thought about the Miami Heat too. I'm thinking that's a less likely scenario, but you never know. The Heat have struggled a bit more as of late, and they could just make an aggressive push for him, and I think they could offer up something good that Memphis could like return. The same goes for Milwaukee and Minnesota. I think those could have some good returns for Ja Morant on where he's at right now. So, yeah.
I like Milwaukee and Minnesota. I like those up north teams. I personally, entertainment wise, I think him going down to South Beach would be quite literally the funniest thing to ever happen. Ja Morant unleashed in Miami is, I feel like, a reality show that we need to see. But I don't know how likely that the Miami Heat culture would allow that.
Right, yeah. So I remember on the podcast, we've talked about the Minnesota Timberwolves a lot very early in the season because out of all the teams that are looking to compete this year, it feels like the Timberwolves, I mean, they obviously have an open point guard spot. They don't really have one playing. I mean, they've been starting DiVincenzo at the point the whole season. Mike Conley's come off the bench. He's now 38 years old. He's just not, the best reliable player anymore. They've tried out, Bones Highland has been their backup, another backup, Jalen Clark, Rob Dillingham, just a lot of different guys. But again, this is a team that's been to the Western Conference Finals the last 2 years that has Anthony Edwards still just 24 years old. That is going to, want to compete in this Western Conference, and rightfully so, believes that, they should have a chance, again, being in the Western Conference Finals the last 2 years. Right now, they are the 4th seed in the West at 26-14 without point guard play. But I definitely think if they have any hopes of making it, making another run like that this season in this loaded of a West, that you've got to have some sort of reliable point guard play. It's almost like the same problem that the Houston Rockets have had with, no Fred VanVleet. They just don't have a point guard on the floor. I've been saying the last few weeks how the Rockets in the clutch have really struggled with their record and their turnovers. Minnesota also is one of the league leaders in clutch turnovers as well, and it's for the exact same reason, it feels like, because they don't have a point guard to get them into their actions when it matters most. So I feel like the Timberwolves would be a perfect spot for him if he does get traded. The likelihood, you might be right, Joey. I mean, because all this stuff is kind of being reported already about him, not being happy there, the Grizzlies not being happy with him being there, it feels like it kind of just would make sense. I think this could definitely be like the Trae Young situation, but this has the potential to be a much more uglier divorce like the Jimmy Butler trade last year than the Trae Young thing. The Trae Young thing was pretty seamless, and it was nice to not really have to deal with any negativity or drama or anything like that. This seems like something where we could be going in a dramatic direction.
Yeah, as soon as he gets traded, I'm fully looking forward to seeing what his uncle or dad tweets or something like that. Whichever one was the one making trouble before.
Yeah, Teamer. Yeah, that's right. Next guy we'll go to the Warriors and once again talk about Jonathan Kuminga. Same guy that we've talked about, feels like the whole last calendar year, this guy for the Warriors that again are in the Western Conference plan. And, like we kind of talked about during when we were grading all these teams, it just kind of feels like we are in the exact same position as we were, during the offseason and even beforehand. Right now, if he's not really even in the rotation at all for the Warriors, he's not even playing right now. So we're really in the exact same situation. Joey, what do you think is the likelihood that Kuminga gets traded?
I'll be honest, probably on the lower side. I truly think they've held on him this long, with doing nothing and promising him empty promises and him not fulfilling any promises. It's just not good. It's not a good relationship between the both of them. So I want them both to separate. I would love it to be a 10, but I think it's more like a 3 or a 4. I just don't see anything. I really don't see anywhere else he could go or anybody that wants it. You don't hear anything. It's just him just sitting there taking up space like he has been for, it feels like, the last 2 years. I really don't. I would want him on somewhere else so badly, and he really should have left this summer, but he bought in, they bought in, and it's just not worked out whatsoever.
Ben, what do you think?
I think there's a good chance, possibly. I'm gonna say a 7. I think he's a bit more likely that could happen, but not totally guaranteed. And I'm just doing this just based off some reports I've heard. What I've seen, I noticed that Steve Kerr, hasn't totally been the most impressed with him. It's been hard with trying to rotate him in the lineups for Steve Kerr, and that just the Warriors, said by sources, have been passively interested in, this is actually finally going to be the time moving on from him before the deadline. The thing, I guess that just kind of lowers it to a 7 for me is who's actually going to want him? Who's going to trade for him? That I don't totally know right now.
Yeah, I don't really know. I feel like this could be a situation kind of like we saw with Zach LaVine on the Bulls last year, where he kind of just gets ended up being thrown into one of these 3-team trades, for a bigger name in a trade, and Kuminga just ends up going to a team with an open space for him to play, because that's kind of how it worked with LaVine going to the Kings from the Bulls in that 3-team De'Aaron Fox trade. In the offseason, it was the Suns and the Kings that were interested, but with how well Phoenix has been playing, like we talked about before, I'm not sure how much you want to mix anything up that's going on there right now. And for Sacramento would be the team probably right now because it's been so bad. But at the same time, it's like they paid Keegan Murray in the offseason, and what would the Warriors get back? I don't know, money wise, I don't know. I know Keon Ellis is going to be a guy that I think is a 10 that is going to get traded from the Kings, and they're going to get fleeced on a deal because he's going to go help a playoff team. I'm not sure if the Warriors are going to be one of those teams, but yeah, it's just another. So I think Kuminga will get traded, but it'll be in one of those, deals where he just kind of gets thrown into what's a bigger deal.
I could see him going to the Kings, honestly. That would be something the Kings can do. They don't have much trade value in any other players outside of Keon Ellis. So they'll get fleeced and they'll get Kuminga, Sabonis, Keegan Murray, Zach LaVine, and DeMar DeRozan in a starting lineup. And it'll just be the worst possible combination you could ever see.
Yeah. I would not be surprised at all of that happening. I don't know. I was going to bring up the two Kings, Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. We can kind of include them into one. Is there a chance you guys think that they could get traded? I mean, particularly, we've talked about it before. I feel like LaVine is the one that could have the most value because of the three-point shooting. And, I'll always believe that I think in the right situation, he could be someone that could contribute to a winning team. He just has not been gifted a winning situation in his entire career. But you guys think there's a chance of either of those guys getting moved before the deadline, with the Kings being so low in the standings and they do have their own first round pick? Like, they can take this off season to reset and start to go younger.
I truly do think Keon Ellis is the only one who has any trade value on that team. But Zach LaVine, if you're looking at the both of them, I agree. I think Zach LaVine's probably the more likely to go, but I really don't know where. And DeRozan, my hope would be get him back to Toronto because they're playing well, and I'd love to see him back on a playoff Toronto team just because. But it just doesn't make sense.
Ben, what do you think about those two guys? Any chance that they could get moved?
I'm thinking if you combine the two on a 1/10 scale, I'm going to go in the middle at 5. I really don't know. I'm thinking one possibility is, the Kings GM, knowing who that is, it's just going to hold out. They're still gonna be there at least for the rest of the season and into the off season. But I'm thinking, maybe there's a chance. I would say Zach LaVine a bit more likely than DeMar. I agree with Joey just because of the 3-point shooting and fast scorer he can be. The thing is, even if the Kings are looking to trade them, I don't know who's going to want them. Not a whole lot of teams, but I'm thinking maybe the Kings get lucky and find a trade for one of them, even if that for crazy to return. Maybe they'll just be smart and trade for them. So I really don't know. I got them in the middle of the scale.
I'll say it right now. I would still do Sabonis for Jared Allen straight up, and have Evan Mobley cover Sabonis's backside because we know he can't play defense. But as long as Evan Mobley's there to back him up, I think we're golden. We need help on the rebounding.
Yeah, if only the Cavs weren't a second apron team. That's their.
Damn.
That's. Before we move on to the next guy, I think the Kings. So their money situation. So LaVine is on a $49 million player option for next year. And DeRozan next year is $25 million, but it's not fully guaranteed. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe it's not this trade deadline, but it's something we see during the summer, particularly with DeRozan and him being 36 years old. If he's someone that ends up getting bought out and stretched, and he ends up going to a team for cheap that needs some sort of scoring, a guy that can just make some tough shots. Yeah, LaVine might just be someone that has to wait out the contract again and just it gets moved whenever it makes sense.
Oh, boo-hoo. He has to claim his $40 million plus player option.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of money for Zach LaVine. Next guy we'll talk about. I guess we'll talk about. Well, I'll bring up a Cleveland Cavalier guy because obviously the Cavs have had one of the most disappointing seasons in the league. We talked in the pre-pod lobby. Of course, they lost to their last two games. They lose to the Utah Jazz last night, who again are tanking. They were playing their normal team, but again, a tanking lottery team. And the previous game put up one of their best offensive performances in franchise history, beating the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have been really good recently. So that's kind of been the story of the whole season for the Cavs. But the guy I'll bring up because they are a second apron team and trades are pretty limited in that sort of situation is DeAndre Hunter. He's a guy that is still on a decent salary as far as a salary that can get traded. Let me find the exact number. Last year he was really awesome and one of the best bench scorers in the league. This year his efficiency has dropped down horribly. His 3-point percentage has dipped by 10% this season. He's shooting just 30% from three, 14 points per game. He's now coming off the bench after starting a lot to begin the season. And his contract, $23 million this year, $25 million next year. Of course, as a second apron team, the only moves that they can make are sort of 1-for-1 deals for the same amount of money to the dollar. So it's the probability is a little bit lower. But Joe, do you think that this is something that could happen?
I hope it happens. He's been playing terribly. As the Cav fan in me, I really hope it happens. Like, honestly, I think the Cavs would be willing to give up DeAndre Hunter, Lonzo Ball, and a first-round pick just to get him off the roster at this point. Like, they've been terrible. But DeAndre Hunter definitely has the more value, obviously. There are a lot of teams that want wings and probably a better situation for him because he could be good if he gets the ball more, but he's here as a complement piece, and he's just not complementing any of our guys well. Like, he's a 3-and-D guy, but he's shooting 3, like you said, at a 30% clip. Excuse me, that is not going to cut it at all.
And the defense has been bad.
The defense as a whole in Cleveland is just atrocious, so I'm not going to even pin that completely on him. But the fact that, like, you get guys that dominate the paint, like Jared Allen and Mobley, and then you got Donovan Mitchell who can score from anywhere but likes being aggressive, and same with Garland. And you're just sitting there all the time, and you can still only hit it at 30%. I don't know where he's going, but just somewhere. Because I'd rather see Tyson get those minutes or something like that. Tyson and Strus is going to be coming back hopefully in the next 2 months before the playoffs come, because I know that's not good. But I think there's always such a market for those big athletic wings that can shoot the ball theoretically. I would say that's still probably around 8. If there was any move to happen for the Cavs, it's probably him.
Yeah, Ben, what do you think on this scale? Do you think DeAndre Hunter being traded by the deadline?
Going to go with 5 on this one too. Yeah, I wouldn't mind him getting moved. He had a few good games earlier in the year, but has tailed off and not been great recently on both ends of the floor. It's been tough having to watch him as of late. But I think it's going to come down to what the Cavs want to do at the deadline. And if they can, in these next few games, it's going to be important for the Cavs to see if they can be more consistent in playing well. And it's just going to come down to, can they be more consistent in playing well, or are they just going to be too inconsistent, still not totally figuring it out? And if they're still inconsistent, not doing the best, and Hunter's continuing to struggle, that rating could go up for beyond DeAndre Hunter, especially with, the Cavs. They also have to take a look at the second apron, and may not hurt to shave off some money to get below it.
Yeah, I think this next 23 days until the deadline is going to be so huge for the two most disappointing teams in the league, the LA Clippers and the Cleveland Cavaliers, because those two teams, with the Cavs again being in the second apron and the Clippers still being expensive with old guys that individually could have some solid value and could help other teams in the league try and compete this year. It's going to be important for these teams to try and show in these next 3 to 4 weeks and prove to really their front offices that they can still compete and win. Because Clippers, again, they had a brutal start to the season. They're playing better. They're 15-23 as we're recording, hoping to be 16-23 after tonight. Cavs are 22-19, which again is, they're at the top of the plan. But again, there's still a whole nother half of the season to go. But if you're in that Cavs front office and this team is showing what they have shown you, that they cannot put it together defensively for 48 minutes, that they can't play a full game, that they can't, that they can do it one game, but then they can't do it for another game. Like we were talking in the pre-pod lobby, I don't know if they've only had one time where they've put together back-to-back good games, and that is not good. They're playing better record-wise over the last few weeks, and this Jazz game is certainly, a step backward. It feels like you're taking one step forward, two steps backwards with this team. But this Cavs front, Kobe Altman, Mike Yancey, they're going to have to decide when it comes to the trade deadline. Do you still think that this is a team that could, in a 7-game series, compete in a wide-open East with the Pistons, with the Knicks, with the Celtics, any of those teams? And if you don't think you have a chance because of the effort, then it's probably the most responsible thing to try to look to shed salary, because you'd be paying a lot of money for this team to not really do a whole lot in the postseason. And then next offseason, we'll see what important moves this team makes as far as if they decide to move on from any of the core four, any guys like that.
I hope so. I really do.
So we'll see. Again, still plenty of time to turn it around, but again, we're kind of saying the same things that we've been talking about ever since the beginning of the season. So it's time for them to pick it up. That's for sure. That's definitely time for them to pick it up. Last guy I'll mention here for the trade deadline scale, we'll go down to the Brooklyn Nets, the former GFF, who I think are doing a good job this season. And we'll talk about Michael Porter Jr., who's having a great year, a guy that I think for sure will make his first All-Star game this year. Let me go find his numbers exactly. The Nets, again, they're a young team that are, looking to rebuild and tank with all their young guys that they have there. But Porter, who was brought in from Denver, this season is averaging 26 points, 7 rebounds, 3.5 assists a game, shooting 49% from the field, 40% from three on 9 attempts per game. He's been really good, and the Nets have had some good stretches this season. Reason I bring him up is, we've seen now what Michael Porter can do as a number one guy. We've seen what he can do as a complimentary guy all those years with the Denver Nuggets. For a team that is rebuilding, and it's probably in their best interest to acquire as many assets as possible, is there a chance we could see them move on from him when his value is at, probably the highest it could be for this Brooklyn team? Ben, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's possible they could want to move him just because of his value, but he's played so well with them, and he's sort of helped them be kind of semi-competitive, helped the younger guys a bit. I think who've hit some good moments, the younger guys. It's a tough rating to come up with, but I'll go with a 6. Yeah, I can see it if the Nets have some good offers up on the table, especially that can net them back like some decent draft capital stuff. How well he's been playing, then it could be a good deal. They may want to take it, but if they aren't totally getting the offers they want, and he's played really well for them anyways, they just may stick it out and see for the rest of the year. So, yeah, that's a tough one, but maybe some contending teams will want him. It's just gonna all come down to if anyone has a good package for Brooklyn, I think.
Joey, what do you think about MPJ?
It's very interesting because I'll give it a 5. I'm gonna put it right in the middle, because he definitely has value, and he's been fantastic. 3.5 assists. Honestly, given the most improved player award right now, because that is something I never thought I would see him averaging over 2.5 assists. It's crazy to me. But the thing is, I don't like with him playing this well. Yeah, I know at Brooklyn tanking team, they just want draft capital and they'll grow, but they're already bottom 3 in the East. Like they're already going to get a pretty high draft pick. Like they don't really need to tank that much more. So I wouldn't it wouldn't be the end of the world if they keep him, Igor, and then like maybe get another young guy to pair with him, and all of a sudden, in 2 years tops, with him still on your team, you're now competing in like the play-in, or even like who knows with how well they develop. Like I wouldn't be opposed if they just kind of kept him just to wait and see, maybe at least another year, because honestly, I kind of like what Brooklyn's been doing. They obviously Michael Porter has been playing fantastic. Igor's been pretty good. Some of these young guys have been playing well, and I don't know. They kind of have promise, even though they're really, really bad still.
Yeah, I would probably agree. I mean, he's one of the names that I don't think he'll get traded. I would probably honestly put it at a 2 or a 3. I'd be pretty surprised if he ended up getting traded. But just thinking about it, you think about you don't really see a whole lot of teams really capitalize on big name players like that at their highest value. Usually they wait a little bit and their value diminishes a little bit. I'm like, I don't know if it's getting much better than this for Michael Porter Jr. I mean, he's playing amazing basketball, and and I think Brooklyn has been doing a really good job. You never know. You never know what could happen. I feel like he's someone, if he did get dealt to the right team, he could really make a huge difference if he was traded to a team that needed a small forward, needed more shooting.
Like I said with DeAndre, there are a lot of teams out there looking for young, athletic wings, bigger wings like that can shoot the deep ball at a really good clip. It's funny because the reason I actually put them a little high, because usually because they just got them, I would put it lower. But it's funny because I've been playing a lot of 2K lately. In my career mode, they actually traded Michael Porter Jr. for Tobias Harris on the Pistons and paired Michael Porter with Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren, and let me tell you, they're not a fun team to play.
Dude, that's actually really interesting. I've never thought about that before.
Interesting, right? They did it in my 2K, like just randomly, the CPUs trade. I'm like, I kind of like this.
Yeah, why do I like that? I really like that now. I think if the Pistons wanted to make a move to go all in, and well, they definitely need some more 3-point shooting. Even though they're the number 1 seed, they definitely could use some more shooting. If they were able to get Porter, that'd be awesome for that team. That would be one of the most.
Could take on the cap of Tobias Harris, 100. Like I know it's not going to be that straight up deal, but like they could do that.
Yeah, and Detroit still has their picks as well, and Tobias is expiring for this year. So the money situation. So Tobias, if they did that again, Tobias is on the last year of his deal. He's making $26 million this year. MPJ is making $38 million this year, non-guaranteed $40 next year. And this might be the plan that Brooklyn has, and might be the reason why they don't end up trading him. Is if I'm not mistaken, 2027 is the year where a lot of teams are kind of lining up to look at free agents like Miami and the Clippers. So their thing might just be, all right, we'll eat up his money for this year. We'll be bad again next year and eat up his money. Then we're going to have a bunch of open cap space. We'll see if anyone wants to come to Brooklyn. And if anything, we'll just bring this guy back. He's been an all-star for us. So they're in a great position regardless of what they do, I think.
That's kind of what I'm hoping to see. Like I said, I already said it, but I'll say it again. See what you got with him. Just roll it out, and if you can, pair him. Because if he's going to play like this, and you're going to be bad and get high picks, I'll take that any day.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's it for the players I got. Before we get out of here, are there any other guys that you guys want to bring up about potential players that could be on the move?
I can't. The only one I want is somebody on the Cavs, honestly. Jared Allen, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley. Honestly, at this point, only Evan Mobley if we get Giannis back.
Right.
Honestly, everybody's available except the guys we were talking in the pre-pod lobby, who is the only ones who's showing effort. Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Tyson, Sam Merrill, and Naquan Tomlin. They really are the only untouchable guys I can see right now.
speaks to where things are at. Cavs, we just want effort. We want consistent effort. It's literally all we want. But yeah, should be an interesting next few 23, 24 days as we come up to the trade deadline on February 5th. Big games coming up for the Thunder this week. We will recap those coming up in a pod coming up in a little bit. And again, we are at basically the midway point of the season, which is crazy to say already. So we'll get to talk about maybe some mid-season awards to hand out here on the Runnin the Paint podcast. We'll see what we can come up with over the next few pods or so. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have anything else before we get out of here?
I don't think I got anything.
Well, let's peace on out of here then. Let's get out of here. If you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA content. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.